You're listening to The Broker Show with the Broker Joe, your expert in all things real estate. Hot topics, market trends, even your questions. It's all on the table. Hosted by The Broker Joe and co-hosted by Etch.
It's The Broker Show. I am Etch.
And I'm The Broker Joe.
What's up, Joe?
I did that to my kids this morning.
Did you really?
Yeah. If they get me up early and I'm a little grumpy, I'm not really. Don't get grumpy. Yeah, I do. But I will wake up and I'll walk in the room and be like, Zachary, get up. And they'll be like, but it's gotten old because I do it, maybe once a month, twice a month. They'll go, gosh, no, it's that day. Dad is going to, and I will just talk like this the whole way to school. And I'll even try to get a word or two into their teacher like that too. Maybe when they're coming to pick them up and they hate it so much. They can't wait. I'm pulling into a stop and they're flying out the doors of the car. Yeah. They don't want to be around when Dad is talking like this to the teacher.
It's funny how things like that change, too, because, I feel like my daughter, she's 7.
Yeah.
Some dads are like, I'm going to dress up in costume, and I'm going to go and drop you off in front of the school.
Oh, sure.
My daughter would be like, sweet, let me do it, too. She'd be all about it.
Oh, yeah.
My 11-year-old would be like, Dad, no. She's at that age. It's why would you do that? I'm like, you're 11. You're not even a teenager yet. Knock it off.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But the waking up in the morning thing was the thing that always used to get me. My dad, every time I used to scream when he would do this. He would come into my room, and I was the worst morning person. I don't know how I have a job on the radio that makes me wake up in the morning. Because he used to come in before school, and he would do this every time. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up in the morning. It's time to wake up. And I would drive me nuts. And he would just keep on going as if it was
almost worse than my bit.
Oh, gosh. And still to this day, he'll do it when I go and I got to hunt. Yeah. I'll stay at his house. He'll come in and do that, knowing that it drives me nuts, that I'll just go crazy.
I have to write that down. I'm freshly inspired. I'm freshly inspired. This is going to be so good.
I got an even better one for you that I've actually started using. Because now we're at a different age. I mean, that was, I hate saying it, 20 years ago. More than that, 25 years ago, that he would do that. But now we have things in our kids' rooms like Alexa, Google Home. So if they're heavy sleepers and they don't know that you walked in the room, whisper, Alexa, play death metal radio on Spotify. Turn the volume to 10. And all of a sudden you just hear, and they jump up so quick. Eyes wide like somebody just screamed bloody murder. And then you just sit there and smile and you're like, breakfast is on the table.
I have a feeling if I did that, I would find 5 Alexas in the pool the next morning.
Just have another one just available behind the pillow.
Right. Hey, they're like $10 now, the little dots or whatever. Right? Yeah, just keep buying them. Endless supply. Got one in the bed in the closet.
Oh, they're amazing. Yep. All right. So last week we've been covering stuff on the Broker Show here with Broker Joe. Some
buyer strategies
stuff.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How is this market affecting everyone? Last week we talked about the price and the money down. And this week I think I want to talk a little bit and pick your brain about personal property stuff. We've been searching for homes. If you tuned in last episode, you know that I was talking that my fiance and I are currently looking for a place. We found this one out in Hersey that in the pictures and everything, almost exactly what we wanted. It was an old farmhouse.
Sure.
And it was all hardwood floors that they painted, but they looked amazing. And they had this butcher block made from scratch, old style
right off of
block.
Pinterest.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And it was staged so great.
Yeah.
And one of our first things that we thought of when we walked in there is, how much extra is it going to be for us to have them leave half of this stuff here?
Yeah.
I want this. That couch looks perfect with this. That butcher block that they have out there that's got everything that's hanging on it, I want that for my kitchen.
This is exactly why a realtor's home can feel very confusing, because we see all these houses.
Yep.
And especially as a new agent, I remember going back 13 years, walking in the first dozen houses. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Right? This is crazy. Where'd they find that?
Yeah.
This is so cool. Right? Over and over and over again. Then now 10,000 showings later, it's like, cool, nice. And so we struggle to establish our own style, right? Find our own, what we actually like, because we got all these things swimming in our head. But it's what happens. And buyers get enamored sometimes with an item. Watch yourself, buyer. You walk in there, that thing, the seller might be just as attached to it, might have handmade it. Dad might have made it for him, right? So keep that in mind. Don't lose a deal over an item. However, you'd be surprised. You have not if you ask not.
Yeah.
Right? So if you ask for it, here's what I'd say. if you're competing in a deal, I would say your agent, buyer, get your buyer's agent to call that seller agent and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be sending over an offer. We really want this house. We want to be competitive. Tell me what the seller's looking for. What is important to the seller? Is it important to the seller to have 30 days after closing, or are they going to be out before closing and we can move right in? Is it important to the seller that they take their appliances with them, or did they already purchase a home and there's already appliances sitting there?
Right.
So those things are really relevant. How do I know, unless my buyer's agent does the research for me to find answers to those questions? That way I can get a sense for where I can get and where I can give, right? If I really, really want to win. If it's a different market, you rewind 12 years, different ballgame. I want everything. And you know what? I'm the first buyer to walk in the door in 8 months. So, it is my way or the highway. It is not like that now. You gotta be sensitive. I would say be sensitive and compassionate no matter what you do. Have empathy for people that are moving or buying or whatever. It's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, they all want to win and feel like their agent especially worked hard for them and won for them. And that's a great way to do that. So, you know what? Nothing's off limits until it's off limits.
Right.
You got to find out what's off limits.
Know the relationship between you and your agent.
You and that, yes.
That's looking for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Tell
yeah.
them what you're looking for. And
that's
if it's
exactly
something that
right.
you're really interested in, be like, look, this isn't a deal breaker, but do you mind maybe asking them if
sure.
that couch
Exactly.
that is beautiful right there, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to find one that's like it.
And you will, and you will get
that.
The seller will appreciate that. So the agent portrays that. The seller will appreciate that the buyer is really engaging in an intricate way, getting down to the granular detail about the items. How can we cater to you, but also get a win here? And so I think that is good faith. Real estate transactions in general, going all the way back to every book and every teaching, every training, it's a good faith transaction. You want both the buyer and the seller to be on the same page, both of them to feel happy, well served, and like they're going to win at the end of this transaction.
Well, let's circle back around here because I got a question that has to do with that brings up something that we talked about a couple of moments ago that you had brought up. Yeah. So let's say that there's something that I'm really, really liking. Is it the family, my fiance and I walk in there, we're like, that's perfect. Oh my gosh, we got to have that. And you already portrayed that to your agent. It's like, hey, go do the handiwork for me, but I have an ace in the back pocket here, and it's that letter that I'm going to send to the seller.
Sure.
Is it outside of the box to say, I really, really like the decor that you put into your house. You have a beautiful house. And I got to say, that couch that you have, are you taking that with you? If not, we would love, love, love to talk with you about how we can keep that here. Is that something that's like, you shouldn't do that?
No, and you shouldn't do that as a buyer. You want the letter to be focused on what you like about their home, but you don't want to negotiate.
Right.
The letter needs to be nothing to do with negotiating. The seller needs to be able to read this letter and feel like it is an earnest heart-to-heart. There's no behind-the-scenes angle that's being worked. Let your agent figure out the furniture, the items, but dote on their house as a buyer. Dote on their house. Talk about how it felt, how you felt when you walked in the door, how you felt when you were sitting on that back porch, how it reminded you of the home you grew up in.
Right.
You know, however you can relate to that house. Those are things that the seller will relate to immediately, and they'll love it. I do see a lot of letters. I see letters from people that talk about how awful their life's been.
Yeah.
Right? A buyer, oh, my life's so horrible, and I lost this job, and I lost this job, and I had this sickness, and I knew this guy that did this thing to me, and that's not what you want to do. It makes the seller feel uncomfortable, makes them feel under pressure, makes them feel obligated, and you don't want them to feel that way. You want to level with them, say, listen, this is who I am. My wife and my 3 kids are my dad, and I want to take care of him in this home. And it was perfect because, you know, the ramp you put in, it's going to be perfect for us, right? For him because he's in a wheelchair. Or anything you can come up with to relate that's their home, just about their home. That to me is a well-rounded letter that just speaks right to the seller about what they appreciate about their house. I think it's going to be effective.
That's great. I was going to say angling it a certain way would probably be in poor taste, is I guess the word that I'm looking for. But on the same side, there's that fine line to walk, is what you're saying.
There always is.
Talk about how beautiful you thought their stuff was.
Oh, yes. Oh, sure.
Maybe mention the stuff that you thought specifically that maybe your agent is going to work an angle on their end to do the deal.
Sure.
But mention, you know, the things that you like about it and how you can see your family doing exactly what their family did.
I think the important thing to remember there is never cut out the feet from under your agent in their negotiating ability. So you never want to say something that would put words in your agent's mouth. Right. You want to talk to them, get a clear direction, clear vision, and let the agent communicate it effectively, because agent to agent, we work with each other all the
Yeah,
time,
you're right.
right? No feelings are going to get hurt. But when the buyer and the seller get together, that's where, well, he said this, well, she said that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where things can go off the rails. So you keep it clean until you got a deal.
Would it be in good judgment to, before you give out the letter and before you send it out,
Ask
be like,
the agent.
Here, review that. What would you do?
Oh, yes.
So there you go. That's a great piece of advice from you. So
Yep.
appreciative of that.
Agent should coach their clients on how to write letters if they're going to do that. Absolutely. And there's a lot of templates. There's a lot of great ideas. I think roughly along the lines of what I said is pretty much what the seller's looking for and will help the seller understand where you're coming from.
All right. Let's say you got something as far as the deal goes. The agent's worked it all out. Most of the details have been handled. You're talking about moving in, taking possession of the house. That's the stressful part, especially if the person who is selling the house is still saying, well, I'm still waiting on closing for this other one. I just bought this one. I'm just waiting for this. It's been held up in whatever with the closings, and I'm just waiting for the banks to come through and sign it, and they're just waiting to do.
And I want my house.
Right. Or maybe they're saying, well, we're waiting for verification of employment or whatever.
Yep.
And you're saying, I can't give it to you. As a buyer, as a seller, how does that possession
of the property
work out? Of the property,
So you'll often see as agents, and first of all, I want to start with this. Michiganders got a lot of stuff.
Yes.
We got a lot of stuff, man.
We're all hoarders.
We love our pole barns. We love our trash piles. We love our basements. So here's what happens. Our market, this is fairly standard. Okay. And anything can be negotiated. I'll say all the time, a buyer sees it as a huge advantage in our state to see a house that's vacant. I can move in right away. Just a few days ago, right? Had a buyer from Florida. The seller counteroffered and said, well, no, I'm not going to give you possession at close. I need 30 days. The buyer from Florida, they talked to their buddy down there. Long story short, this buyer's horrified. They've never heard of such a thing. They thought it was illegal. They could not believe it. They talked to their agent there in Florida. Their agent said, no way. Don't do it. That's the crazy thing I've ever heard of. No one would ever do that. And so I'm left there, right? Lucky me. I am so sorry, but this is an everyday occurrence here in Michigan. You know what it comes down to? We got a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff, big properties. There's a lot of other reasons, right? But when you have a market trend, people have an expectation, then they feel really uncomfortable when you come in and blow that up, right? And so 30 days is expected by most sellers unless they're already out or unless they're already moving out or unless they're in a hurry to get away, right? Important to understand that before you write the offer. Your agent should be saying, hey, you wrote 30 days possession on the MLS. Is that true? Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, the seller moved out. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Or absolutely, we put 30 days up there because we got a lot of stuff and we got to move it. And I'm not going to go buy a house and move all my stuff and then hope that you show up to the closing table, right? Most deals work out just fine. But would you want to be the seller committing thousands of dollars to storage or a new home or a job move and then have something unfortunate happen last minute? I had a gentleman at the closing table last week. The lender called in a VOE, verification of employment, as we were closing. And the bank called the title rep and said, stop the closing. This guy just got fired this morning.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yep. So this is not typical.
Jeez.
One of the saddest things I've ever been a part of, and I've got some crazy stories, Etch, but that's really hard. It's really hard to watch that, and the gentleman had to find out at the closing table with his family. Very, very difficult. That possession is important to give the seller some space, and as a buyer, you really want this house, suck up that extra month's rent.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to get in your head, oh my gosh, someone else is living in my house. I'm paying a payment. I'm paying taxes. I'm paying insurance for this month, right? Why am I a renter all of a sudden? So make sure there's good communication. Make sure you feel comfortable with the seller, that they're going to be out in time. Make sure there's some backup money in escrow in case that kicks in back to you, good chunk of money if they don't get out in time. But at the end of the day, most sellers, they got a lot of stuff. And they don't want to be out of closing. They need a little time. They need to buy their house. They need to move in.
Have a yard sale.
Have a yard sale. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Well, let's close with pre-approval, and then we'll kind of leave some stuff on the table for our next episode. So pre-approval, trying to get pre-approved for all this stuff, that can be just maddening in itself.
It is. Etch, mortgages are not the funnest topic.
No, not at all.
It's just not the sexiest thing to talk about. Yeah. Sorry, all you mortgage brokers out there. You've got your work cut out for you. As a buyer, here's what I'd say. This is the biggest pet peeve of any agent ever is don't ask me to show a house if you haven't talked it through with your bank first, because there is a lot to it. Here's the thing. Our mindset is easy credit, right? walk into a car dealership. I drive away a $40,000 car.
Yeah.
It took 15 minutes. I signed 3 pieces of paper. It's done.
Yeah.
It's over. They feel the same way about a house, right?
Yep.
They I hear it all the time.
Instant gratification.
Yep. They call. You hear them. They feel like, oh, yeah, I'm sure it'll work out. Oh, no. Buying a home, unlike any other financial transaction you will ever do. It is truly unlike anything else. And you could buy a $60,000 truck. It takes 15 minutes. You could buy a $40,000 house, and it takes 60 days. And that is the absolute truth. And so what I would say is, as a buyer, you got to find a good lender. You got to find someone that's willing to sit you down, virtually, in person, whatever the case may be, and talk you through your options, talk you through the interest, talk you through the points, talk you through all the different varying factors that really have an impact on you, not just for the moment you buy it, but for years down the road. Your agent's there to make sure you're getting the deal or getting the house in the place that you need. Your mortgage broker's there to make sure that you're getting the best interest available, but also the best service, and that you're not wasting time, energy, resources on an endeavor that's not going to ultimately work out. That's what the agent wants to hear. The agent wants to see you walk in the door and say, hey, I did my homework. I talked to 2 or 3 guys. I picked one I felt like was the best for me and my family, and I got a pre-approval letter, right? There's this difference between these pre-approvals. You can go online. There's all these online, right?
Yeah,
all these ads. You can go online, click a few buttons. How much do you make? Oh, I make $100,000. All right, sounds good. Here's your pre-approval. Print it off and good luck. That is not worth the paper it's printed on. It's really, really not.
And also gets you a whole bunch of really annoying.
It does
phone
forever.
calls.
Don't do
Like
it.
never
Don't do it.
ends.
They will never lose your
Never
number.
ends.
They will never lose your number.
God, a year later they'll be calling.
Oh
you.
yes. Oh yes. So
You have your warranty on your car too.
Get an underwritten pre-approval. That means that an underwriter is someone that's either in-house or secondary market behind that mortgage company, right? And what their job is to do is to take your information, your credit, your employment history, your W-2s, your 1099s, whatever you have going on, take them, review them, make sure that not only can you get approved, but nail in your budget, nail in the type of financing that you want, FHA, VA, MISTA, RD, so many different kinds, so many different options, right? And make sure that you're dialed into what's going to suit you. Then you know what to look at. Because at any given time, there's 100 houses. Well, there's 10 that you need to be looking at. There's 5 that you should be looking at. Fits your budget, fits your area, fits your price range, fits those things. And it'll save you a lot of disappointment.
We've covered a lot of different topics. At the same time, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to real estate. Things that you don't even think of as a buyer, as a seller, as a broker. I mean, I'm sure there's some brokers
and
in
the
there that are
stories
listening
to
right
tell.
now. Right.
All the stories to tell.
That's what I'm interested in. I want to hear some of the stories that you have to tell, what some of the stuff that you've seen,
Oh,
the
my gosh,
craziness. I mean, you've got to have some stories. So in coming episodes with The Broker Show, I want to uncover some of those. We're going to leave a little to the imagination when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
We got a whole year of this stuff going on, and we're ready to go. Joe, I'm excited, man.
Cannot wait to sink our teeth into some more. Ultimately, hopefully answer some people's questions and give them something fun to listen to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have some really exciting things that we'll be adding to the show. Right now, you're hearing the audio podcast.
Yeah.
Soon, we're going to be adding a video element to this that's going to be fully produced that you can watch live on Twitch. Also, we'll be putting that on all of the social media accounts. You'll be able to listen to these podcasts through Spotify, through Apple Music, all these great places that you can listen to podcasts. And you'll be able to see it. And the beauty of Twitch is we're going to bring it to a different level to where if you're tuned in live, you can ask us questions and we'll be able to answer your questions right there live. So this is just kind of the...
It's perfect for our jalapeno eating contest next week.
I'm down.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You said yes way too quickly.
Let's do it.
You know what? I think I got a thing. Yep.
Yeah, don't put them on the table,
Okay.
boy. Don't put them on the
Okay,
table.
all right. I can pick my battles.
So, we're going to get back with you next week. Tune in. We have so much more, and we thank you for listening. It's The Broker Show with Broker Joe. I'm Etch.
And I'm Joe.
Thanks for listening.